Corruption is everywhere, and Malaysia is no exception. And the results are terrifying. Even though Malaysia is one of the least corrupted country in the whole of Asia, but it still has its flaws, and there are corruption almost in every sector of the government, in private businesses, in law firms, and like that. And the way the Malaysians fight this is with their anti-corruption unit, which is MACC. What they do is they find out and investigate those reported of corruption. There are many cases of Malaysian corruption, and they are the one who's finding them. Malaysia is very well known for their virtue, but there are a few exceptions when you can find everywhere in like in everywhere. The effects, causes, and symptoms of the corruption in Malaysia is massive. So to do that in the beginning, we do is we change it and introduction to the corruption of Malaysia. Corruption is a major issue in Malaysia and harming governments and the economy and public trust. Despite anti-corruption efforts like MACC and legal reforms, corruption persists due to weak enforcement and political interference. Yes, Malaysia does have a large number of political issues that which they are definitely involved in corruption in the Malaysian government. I think it also goes to a prime minister level, maybe, not sure, but it could happen. And it is quite sad to hear that. But MACC, the Malaysian Corruption Anti-Corruption Department, will crack those cases even if you are a prime minister or your political status is very high. Uh, But due to the weak enforcement of law and other political interference, like money issues, political power, things may not go in the anti-corruption's way. And that's all for the introduction. Let's go to the next page. Let's see what's in there. Now, political power. Politics and power are the major issues that control these corruptions. Even if there's anti-corruption department, police, or public interference, they love to get interfered in those corruption issues. If the MACC, the anti-corruption department, would to interfere, there's most likely a political party who are involved with it, or they are just hungry for power. So not to get exposed among the publics or the other political rivals, they would sometimes use their powerful influence among those corrupted officers or civil servants. They would bribe them or threaten them, usually sometimes to get not get investigated. But due to the high level of anti-corruptions, the unit's efforts, it's been said that it's increasing day by day. The anti-corruption's power is increasing day by day, and they're cracking more cases, but they're being more successful. Right, right. The Malaysia is currently is the 57th state to is anti-corruption like in corruptional state, which is slightly better than their last decade, which was more higher, like 67. So they are getting better. That's all for the introduction. I will take you to the next slide, which will be doing my one of my teammates. Thank you very much.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Aiman Khalid bin Muhammad Nasir. Today, I'll be presenting the literature review and methodology section of our report on the causes, symptoms, and effects of corruption in Malaysia. Definition and causes. Corruption is commonly defined as the abuse of power for personal gain. Based on various studies, there are a few common causes of corruption in Malaysia. First, weak law enforcement. When punishment is not strict or consistent, corrupt activities go unpunished. Second, low public sector salaries. When government officers are underpaid, they may be tempted to accept bribes. Lastly, lack of transparency. Without public access to information, it becomes easier for unethical decisions to happen unnoticed. Symptoms and effects. Now let's look at the symptoms and the effects. Some common signs of corruption include unexplained wealth, delay in public service, and favoritisms or nepotisms. As for the effects, they are serious. Economically, corruption reduces investor confidence. Socially, it damages the public trust in institutions. Politically, it causes instability and weakened leadership. These findings are supported by MACC reports, Transparency International, and academic sources. Methodology. For the methodology, we use a qualitative research approach. We rely on secondary data from reliable sources such as MACC, Transparency International, academic journals, and trusted news sites. The data included case studies, policy reviews, and statistics related to corruption in Malaysia. However, we also face some limitation. We did not conduct primary research like interview or surveys, and some media sources may contain bias, especially when covering political bias. Still, the sources we use are credible and give a solid base for our analysis. In summary, the literature shows that corruption in Malaysia is driven by weak enforcement, low salaries, and lack of transparency. It has a strong impact on the economy, society, and politics. Our research used trusty secondary resources to understand these issues in depth. Thank you for listening.
Let's begin with the profile of our respondents. In terms of age, the majority are about 58.7%, were between 80 to 25 years old. This shows that young people are more engaged and aware of current issues, including corruption. The next largest group was age 36 to 50, followed by those above 50, and lastly 26 to 35. As for education, 71.7% of the respondents held a bachelor degree, while 15.2% had a master or PhD. The rest were students at secondary or pre-university level. This suggests that most respondents have a solid educational background, which likely influenced their awareness and opinions on integrity and governance. Next, we asked about their understanding of corruption in Malaysia. A strong 87% said they fully understood the issue, and the remaining 13% had at least heard of it. This indicates high public awareness, especially among youth. We also look at what people believe caused corruption. The top reason selected by 82.6% of respondents was personal greed. Other major causes include political power and influence, weak law enforcement, unethical workplace culture, and low public sector salaries. Interestingly, only 2.2% mention lack of religious value, meaning most people see corruption as a failure of both individuals and the system rather than just a moral issue. Moving on to the impact of corruption, 80.4% of respondents strongly agreed that it harms national development. This includes negative effects on the economy, political stability, and public trust in the government. When it comes to the challenge in fighting corruption, more than half of respondents, 52.2%, felt that all major problems play a role. This includes a lack of integrity in leadership, ineffective enforcement, and fear of reporting corruption. A third of them point especially to poor leadership as the biggest issue. Finally, we asked for solutions to reduce corruption. Most respondents, about 37%, support harsher punishment for corrupt individuals. Others suggest creating a transparent and independent monetary system, teaching moral values and ethics from a young age, and encouraging a whistleblower culture. This shows that people believe both strict action and long-term education are need to address the root cause of corruption. Okay. Okay, this is all the percentage that we get from the Google Form survey for the finding and analysis. And that's conclude my part for presentation. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Good morning to sir. Today my name is Ahmad bin Azmi. Today I'm going to present about a conclusion if you're doing corruption of bribe or bribe. So today I'm going to conclude about the corruption or bribe. The corruption in Malaysia continues to be a serious issue that affect not just individual but also affect to the institution overall, that can affect to the health of the nation economically, socially and politically. Based on our literature review, we've identified several key causes that include weak law enforcement, low wages in the public sector, limited transparency in governance, and political interference. These factors create an environment where corrupt acts can happen more easily and go unpunished. From the system we observe, from the symptoms that our colleague observe, such as unexplained wealth, delays in public service, and favoritism, it's clear that corruption not only disrupts system but also damage trust between citizens and authorities, such as the citizens and the police when the police receive the bribe, something like that. When we asked the root causes, the majority pointed to the personal greed, the political abuse of the power and weak enforcement mechanism. Many also mentioned that unethical work happened in the culture and low public salaries. Importantly, is 80% of respondents strongly agree that the corruption has a negative effect on a nation, on a country development. This also highlight that the public is also aware about the corruption, and at the same time also long-term damage corruption also can cause if we didn't care about it. As for solution, most respondents believe that the tougher punishment for corrupt individuals would be the most effective step forward. So the other suggestion is creating more independent and transparent monetary system and management, introducing ethics education at an early age, and promoting a whistleblowing culture. What does this mean? It means that Malaysia are ready for change. The public sees corruption as a complex, a deeply root problem, but also one that a big change to the company. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Ahmad bin Widen, and my ID is CS01084962. So for my case study, I've chosen the politician Zhou Yongkang. Zhou Yongkang was an interesting case as he was one of the most powerful people in China who was arrested during Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign. He was a member of the Politburo Standing Committee, which was the highest decision-making body for China, as well as being the secretary for the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission, who acted as a leader for handling law enforcement. He was charged with bribery totaling up to 731,000 yuan, or 117,000 US dollars, abuse of power, as well as revealing state secrets. The anti-corruption campaign was also able to catch his son and wife for bribery, along with his previous associates in the oil industry from when he was working as an executive in the China National Petroleum Corporation. The case also eroded trust in the government and suspicion, as the case demonstrated how there was corruption at the top level which enabled corruption at the lower levels of society. Despite this, it was a success for Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign, as he was able to show that no one was exempt from the law and would allow for reforms starting from the top of government. To deal with this type of corruption, it is important that there are regular audits to detect for symptoms for corruption, such as favoritism or unexplained wealth. Another way would also be to use sting operations to counter bribery, as well as infiltrate corrupt circles, which would have been helpful in arresting Zhou, as he could deflect investigations away from his own crimes, being the head for internal security. While this court case was initially announced to be open to the public, possibly to set an example out of a high profile figure, but also to demonstrate transparency and integrity in the judicial system, it was later changed to be private with the reasoning that it involved state secrets. There was also speculation by BBC reporter Damien Grammaticus that the case may have been a move by Xi Jinping to eliminate rival politicians and consolidate his power. Okay.
Case study Li corruption scandal. Li, as a former head coach of China national men football team and ex-player, was sentenced to 20 years in prison for bribery and match fixing between 2015 and 2021. He accepted an offer over 16 million in bribe, starting as assistant coach at the Hebei China Fortune Club and continued until he resigned as a national coach in December 2021. He abused his power to select a certain player for national team and to have a football clubs win the match. Alongside him, there's a three former officials from the Chinese Football Association were convicted for bribery, including the former CFA president Chen Yuzhuan, who received life sentence after taking 11 million in bribe. The scandal was publicly revealed through the state documentary, where Li admitted guilt and apologized, saying such a practice had become common in the football at the time. The impact of these cases, as for the individual, Li need to face for 20 years in the prison because of bribery and match fixing. As for the government, the damage to the China's national image, especially since the President Xi Jinping had voiced ambition to make China a global football power. As for the society, it will increase the public awareness of corruption and great pressure on the government to maintain the anti-corruption efforts. So basically, terms that people losing trust on the government. The judgment, the court had confirmed that Li misconduct began in 2015 and extended to 2021, during which he manipulated selection and competition in exchange for money. He was sentenced to 20 years in a prison, and his apology was broadcast nationwide in anti-corruption documentary, where he expressed deep regret, admit, "I should have followed the right path." The former CFA president was sentenced to life in prison, showing the court that serious stand on the corruption. These cases had been compared to the 2010 football crackdown, but with a large sum of money involved, and showing that corruption is remaining persistent despite earlier reform. So to prevent this happening again, as for the individual, we need to teach the player that coach that honors matter more than winning, and set a strict rules with a serious punishment for bribery. As for the government, they have to make a football management open and transparent, so that the world can see that China is serious about the clean and fair sports. As for the society, we need to educate the public and young people that corruption is wrong, and reporting it will help to build better country. That's it for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and selamat sejahtera. My name is Sean Fendifre. My student ID is CS01084715, and today I will be presenting one of the three cases of corruption in China. My case study is of someone named Lai Zhoumin. He is known as China's most corrupt official, and still to this day. Now, he held the occupation of chairman of the board and party chief, secretary of the financial company of China Huarong Asset Management. Now, for his crimes, he accepted the most bribes in China's history and committed embezzlement and bigamy. He also had another nickname, which is called the 3 100s. He had 100 houses, 100 wives or lovers, and 100 associates. And these 100 wives would be current wives, ex-wives, and mistresses alike. And they would be put into these 100 houses or real estate. And a fun fact about these houses, he stored all of his money in a safe he called supermarket. He and his wives would use the term supermarket to refer to this safe where he kept all of his dirty money from accepting bribes and embezzlement. Now, the impact of his crimes, he was executed. His family name and associates' reputations were all tarnished. The government got to show that it has no tolerance for corruption to the public and the country, regained all of its lost assets after his eventual arrest. Now, this could have been avoided with better oversight of the high-ranking officials. He accepted bribery and committed embezzlement and bigamy for 10 consecutive years. So, as his judgment for his crimes, the assets were taken back after he was arrested. And in early January 2021, he was sentenced to death, and later that month, he was executed. So, as a conclusion or summary to this case study, this was a very clear lack of oversight of the high-ranking officials that enabled him to run his operations for 10 consecutive years. And that will be it for this case study. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the next case study, and goodbye.